hope that the second week of no school is going well for all of you and you're getting a bit ahead, finishing, any outstanding BBI work or getting ahead on the international product launch. So I think next week the board is directing that things will be a bit more formal. So I would recommend that you look into Google Meet Hangouts. It's a way to organize meetings with your group. Students should have access to that as of today. And then rather than something new like Zoom, I'll probably push the Google Apps for Education. So if we have Google Classroom going, if you're proofreading work and submitting it on Google Drive, then why not use Google Meet? And then you can also use it meet.google.com, and you should have access to it through your TDSB email and password. So that's something you can download on your phone or tablet and play with. Maybe have a meeting with a small group of friends, see how the interface works, so that when we start doing business classes, you can do that. And for those of you who had the news project presentation due, you should be recording those or submitting those as a reflection, because I don't think there is going to be an opportunity to do them in person. Sorry about that. If you did want to share your presentation with the whole class as a video, you can do that, or do it through sort of the Hangouts. Once we start meeting, you can still do that, but I was just thinking it's probably easier to have everyone just record or write out their reflection and then drop it off. On to today's content.
So I thought today to talk about some of the government packages that are being offered that might affect individual workers or businesses. It's a small part of doing business in Canada. It's a small part of reading your pay stub and understanding it. And so I thought I might show what Justin Trudeau said today and explain how that would fit in to the rest of our sort of social safety net for workers.
Last week, we had announced that we would cover 10% of wages, but it's becoming clear that we need to do more, much more. So we're bringing that percentage up to 75% for qualifying businesses. This means that people will continue to be paid even though their employer has had to slow down or stop its operations because of COVID-19. We're helping companies keep people on the payroll so that workers are supported and the economy is positioned to recover from this. That is our priority. We will have more to say on this very soon, but I can tell you that this subsidy for small and medium-sized businesses will be backdated to Sunday, March 15th. For people who've lost their job or are self-employed, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit will still be there to help you. We also know that for small storefront businesses, they're struggling with cash flow right now. It's hard to raise money and make money in this climate. So to help you bridge to better times, we are launching the Canada Emergency Business Account. With this new measure, banks will soon offer $40,000 loans, which will be guaranteed by the government to qualifying businesses. The loan will be interest-free for the first year, and if you meet certain conditions, $10,000 of it will be forgivable. Our government will also provide an additional $12.5 billion through Export Development Canada and the Business Development Bank to help small and medium-sized businesses with their operational cash flow requirements. This means that businesses will be able to apply for a guaranteed loan when they go to their financial institutions to get help as they weather the impacts of COVID-19. Lastly, we're announcing that we will defer GST and HST payments, as well as duties and taxes owed on imports, until June. This is the equivalent of giving $30 billion in interest-free loans to businesses.
So this would be part of programs that the government normally provides. However, it is ramped up because of the coronavirus issues. And if we're talking about the social safety net, what would be a definition for that would be provide income and programs for people who are unable to work, which could include universal health care benefits when unemployed, social security like the Canada Pension Plan, different welfare, pensions, and other subsidized services like some of the small business loans that they were talking about in that announcement. So where do we get the money for that? Well, when you get paid, it's actually deducted right at the source. So if you're looking at a pay stub, it would look like this. You'd see on the left-hand side, the amount of income the person had, and then there'd be different types of deductions, like CPP for Canada Pension Plans, EI. So if someone loses their job, they can then apply for benefits, income tax, which is the main revenue source for a lot of these programs. So when you get a job, you can look at your pay stub every time you're paid and see how all the deductions have worked out. And so if someone has been laid off, they would normally apply for EI, apply for employment insurance, and receive money that way. But one of the things that they are doing is providing that kind of wage subsidy, even though no one has been laid off, and also fast tracking the process so people can get the money right away. You might have heard that it's backdated to March the 16th. Or so even if you apply now, you can still get your benefits for the last couple of weeks. So one thing that we provide in Canada is the Canada Pension Plan, also called the CPP. You contribute between the ages of 18 and 70, or whenever you retire, half the employer contribution, half employee contribution. And even if you retire early, you can't access it until you're 60. So for a lot of older Canadians who are retired, even if they don't have additional pension benefits through work or additional retirement savings or additional benefits, they'll get at least the Canada Pension Plan. And it includes disability benefits for people who have been injured on the job. It includes a retirement pension after you quit working when you get older, and there's also survivor benefits. So if somebody's spouse passes away, they can still receive the Canada Pension Plan. So what is discussed right now is employment insurance, or EI. It's a system designed to provide benefits to people who have lost their jobs. So it works when you've been fired or laid off. You don't get to quit and then retire, you don't get to quit and then get EI, but if you've been fired, you've been laid off, or sometimes they use the term furloughed, they say, hey, there's no work here anymore, you're on leave for an indefinite amount of period. A lot of servers have been laid off because restaurants have been closed. That gives they have an opportunity to go to a Service Canada, which is kind of where you can do all your Government of Canada sort of programs in one place. You can go to a Service Canada center and register. Now, normally there is a waiting period, and so one of the things that's been done during the coronavirus crisis is to provide, the cash payments right away and not just go through the normal processing time. You can see what it would look like under normal circumstances. It's, people would be lining up, they bring their documentation, a couple of weeks later they start receiving their EI benefits. But with the social separation these days, that would no longer be set up that would work. It has to be done online, and then it's also so they've tried to streamline, reduce the red tape, so that everyone can get their benefits as soon as possible. So the normal situations, you can receive EI if you've lost your job. through no fault of your own. You've applied, you're still actively seeking work, so that's one of the requirements that was being tweaked right now, because it's hard to actively seek work when everything's closed. If you've paid into EI through your payroll deduction, so most people have been doing that, and you've been out of work for 7 consecutive days, but one of the things that he's talked about, Trudeau did, was waiving that waiting period so you could start getting the money right away, because he wants to again get that money injected into the economy, into the hands of workers, and getting things started right away. So normally everyone would be entitled to this. However, the requirements have been loosened due to the COVID-19 crisis. And just some more benefits. Applicants must have worked a minimum of 420 hours to qualify. They can get paid for 14 to 45 weeks. The basic income is usually 55% of what they paid into. And if you're self-employed, you don't contribute into this. You have to make your own rainy day fund in case you go through a dry spell. And one thing that he also mentioned in his video was providing wage subsidies of 75%. And that's something new. That's not a normal government program. But the idea is if restaurants or small businesses are closed, if you were to go take a walk at Yonge and Eglinton these days, everything on Yonge Street is just about closed. So those workers have been laid off and sent home. Trudeau has offered to subsidize 75% of a worker's paycheck, and he's asked that businesses contribute the other 25% if possible. I've heard some cases of businesses not doing that, but it's sort of, he's making an appeal to morals at the moment. And then that way they have their workers ready, and when they reopen, everything can go back to work quickly. If you lay everyone off and everyone's at home, then once these physical distancing requirements are dropped and stores start to reopen, you have to rehire, find new people. It can be disruptive, train them. So the idea is the government's trying to put money into the system, that 75% subsidy, but also keep workers attached to their companies as much as possible, so that when things open up, they can open up as quickly as possible. So you might have seen on that pay stub another deduction for income taxes, and that's how we pay for all of our programs. We pay federal and provincial income tax. They sort of calculate based on how much you would make for the whole year. So if you do overpay because you didn't work the whole year, or it was a contract job, or something else happened, you can receive a refund at the end. You don't have to file your taxes. You only have to file if you owe money. But it's worth filing because you would want to get your refund. It opens up some other deductions and benefits. So even if you don't owe the government money, it's true you do not have to file, you would want to do that anyways. And one thing that Trudeau did change was, instead of having an April 30th deadline for filing taxes, I believe it's been extended to September 1st to get people to sort of time to sort things out. They can hold on to that money a little longer. He mentioned that export duties, if you were a business that imported, import and export duties, if you imported products and you had custom duties you had to pay, those are normally paid at the end of each quarter. Those will be deferred 1 quarter, so you don't have to pay them for the quarter ending March 30th. You can wait until June 30th. And businesses also collect the HST that you remit, so they normally file that every quarter. But so deferring that by 1 quarter means that each business has a little bit of extra cash on hand. And he mentioned that that's $30 billion in total. So that's another way to help out, and a little modification to the social safety net that he has announced. And so, here's some tax rates. It's gradual. So you pay 15% on the first, 45,000, and then on the next 45,000, it's 20, and then on the next 49, it's 26, and very, very complicated. So, it's kind of sometimes you might see someone who's self-employed stop making money just before one of the cutoffs because they don't want to, go into that next, higher tax rate. And then if money over 2,000, you can, it's 33%. And then there's also money that Ontario citizens pay, a slightly different scale, slightly different rates. Common law couples, married couples can pool their income and pay it might help pay a lower rate if one person's a bigger earner and one person earns a little less, they can pay what the average person would have owned. And it's a bit tricky. You just understand that you pay taxes to Ontario and to Canada, and it's on a graduated basis. So during this COVID-19 issue, there's been some bailout packages from the U.S. government, a $2 trillion package that included $500 billion in loans. It included checks to each American for about $1,200. It included the more you made, the less money you got. Maybe look at that and compare it to what Canada did. The 75% wage subsidy was one of the things that Trudeau has mentioned. He also mentioned mortgage deferrals. He mentioned loans to small businesses of $40,000, of which the first year would be interest-free, and some of the money could be forgiven. So have a look at both of the countries and look into which one you think will do a better job or which package you think would be better. And hopefully that explains some of what our Prime Minister is talking to when he faces the press or makes a statement during the COVID-19 crisis.